There is a store where the hot dog and soda combo has cost $1.50 since 1985, where the rotisserie chicken has been $4.99 for over 2 decades, even though selling it at that price loses the company hundreds of millions of dollars a year, where the CEO's office has no door, the warehouse has no signs, and the business model is built on the idea that making almost no profit on the things they sell you is the entire point. That store is Costco, and the way it makes money is one of the most counterintuitive business strategies in the world. Most people assume Costco makes its money the same way every other retailer does, by buying products at wholesale prices and selling them at a markup. And technically, Costco does sell products, about $270 billion worth of them per year. But here is the part that surprises people. Costco barely makes any profit on those sales. Their operating margin on merchandise is roughly 3.5%. For every $100 you spend at Costco, the company keeps about $3.50. Compare that to a typical grocery store at 5 to 8%, or a department store at 10 to 15%. So where does the money actually come from? The answer is a small plastic card in your wallet, your Costco membership. In 2024, Costco collected $4.8 billion in membership fees. That number alone is more than the annual revenue of most companies. And here is the critical fact, that $4.8 billion flows almost entirely to the bottom line. There is almost no cost associated with it, no product to source, no warehouse to stock, no employee to ring it up. It is pure profit. Costco's entire business model can be summarized in one sentence. Sell products as cheaply as possible to keep members happy, and make your real money from the membership fee they pay for the privilege of shopping there. This is not how most businesses work. Most businesses try to maximize the margin on every sale. Costco does the opposite. They deliberately minimize margins, sometimes to zero, sometimes below zero, because the lower the prices, the more valuable the membership feels, and the more likely you are to renew it. And you do renew it. Costco's membership renewal rate is around 90%. That is an almost unheard of retention rate in any subscription business. To understand why this works, you need to understand the history behind it, because the warehouse club model did not start with Costco. It started with a man named Sol Price. In 1954, Sol Price founded FedMart, a discount department store in San Diego, California. The concept was simple. Offer products at low prices in a no-frills environment. Strip away the fancy displays, the commissioned salespeople, the elaborate store designs, and pass those savings on to the customer. FedMart was originally open only to government employees, which gave it a sense of exclusivity and kept operating costs low by limiting the customer base. It worked. FedMart grew rapidly. And one of the young employees who learned the business there was a man named Jim Sinegal. He would later describe Sol Price as his mentor and the person who taught him everything he knew about retail. But FedMart eventually ran into trouble. An investor forced Sol Price out of his own company. So in 1976, Price started over. He opened a new kind of store in a converted airplane hangar in San Diego. He called it Price Club. And this time, the membership model was central from the start. You paid a fee to walk in the door. In exchange, you got access to products at prices that were barely above what Price Club paid for them. Price Club grew to nearly 100 locations. Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, visited Price Club multiple times and later admitted that he had borrowed more ideas from Sol Price than from anyone else in the business. The warehouse club concept was proven. In 1983, Jim Sinegal and Jeff Brotman opened the first Costco warehouse in Seattle, Washington. The concept was refined from Price Club, but the DNA was the same. Pay a membership fee. Get access to deeply discounted products. No frills, no nonsense. The growth was explosive. Costco went from $0 to $3 billion in revenue in less than 6 years. In 1993, Costco and Price Club merged, creating the dominant warehouse club in the country. Today, Costco operates over 900 warehouses across the globe and generates more revenue than any retailer on earth, except Walmart and Amazon. But the membership model only works if the prices are genuinely low enough to justify paying for the card. And this is where Costco's strategy gets interesting, because they do not just try to offer low prices. They are obsessive about it to a degree that borders on irrational. Consider the hot dog. Costco has sold a quarter-pound all-beef hot dog and a 20-ounce soda for $1.50 since 1985. In 1985, a gallon of gas cost $1.12. The average home price was about $89,000. A movie ticket was $350. Everything in the world has gotten more expensive in the last 4 decades, except the Costco hot dog. Adjusted for inflation, that $1.50 should be over $4 today. The company loses money on every single one it sells. When Craig Jelinek, who was about to become CEO, suggested to co-founder Jim Sinegal that maybe it was time to raise the price, Sinegal's response became legendary. He said, "If you raise the price of the effing hot dog, I will kill you." The price has not changed. The hot dog is a loss leader, a product sold at or below cost to get people in the door. Costco understands that you do not come to Costco just for a hot dog, but the hot dog makes you feel like everything at Costco is a deal. And that feeling is what makes you renew your membership. The rotisserie chicken follows the same logic, only on a more dramatic scale. Costco sells those chickens for $4.99. They have sold them for $4.99 for years. In 2015, the company's chief financial officer admitted publicly that Costco was willing to lose $30 to $40 million a year to keep the chicken at that price. By recent estimates, the annual loss on rotisserie chickens has grown to roughly $380 million. Costco sold over 137 million of them in 2023 alone. The company even built its own poultry processing plant in Nebraska just to control costs on this one product. $380 million a year on chicken, and they do it on purpose. This is the part that most people struggle to wrap their heads around. Costco is not trying to make money on the things it sells you. The products are the bait. The membership is the hook. Every single pricing decision Costco makes is in service of one goal: making the membership feel so valuable that you never cancel it. And it is not just the food court and the rotisserie chickens. The entire store is designed around this principle. Costco caps its markup on most products at 15%. On many items, the markup is much lower. If a buyer finds a way to get a product cheaper from a supplier, Costco passes that saving directly to the customer, rather than pocketing the difference. The internal rule is simple: never let the customer feel like they overpaid. There is another layer to this strategy that most people do not think about. Costco carries far fewer products than a typical retailer. A standard Walmart stocks about 140,000 different items. A large grocery store might carry 30 to 50,000. Costco carries roughly 4,000. That is not a limitation. It is a weapon. When you reduce the number of products you carry, several things happen at once. First, you buy much larger quantities of each item, which gives you massive leverage to negotiate lower prices with suppliers. If Costco is going to carry only one brand of mayonnaise instead of 12, the brand that wins that spot is going to offer its absolute best price because the volume is enormous. Suppliers compete fiercely for Costco shelf space because being selected means selling millions of units. Second, fewer products means less complexity in the warehouse. Fewer items to stock, fewer items to track, fewer items to reorder. The supply chain becomes simpler and cheaper to operate. Those savings go straight back into lower prices. Third, and this is the subtle part, limited selection actually reduces decision fatigue for the shopper. When you walk into a store with 50 brands of ketchup, choosing becomes stressful. When Costco offers you two options, maybe a national brand and the Kirkland version, the decision is easy. You pick one, you feel good about it, and you move on. Research consistently shows that too many choices paralyze consumers and reduce satisfaction with whatever they end up buying. Costco sidesteps that problem entirely. This brings us to one of the most fascinating elements of Costco's business, a brand called Kirkland Signature. If you have never heard of Kirkland Signature, you might assume it is a small house brand. It is not. Kirkland Signature generates roughly $56 billion in annual revenue. To put that in perspective, that is more than Nike, more than Coca-Cola. It is one of the largest consumer brands on the planet, and most people outside of Costco have never thought about it. The name comes from Kirkland, Washington, where Costco's headquarters used to be located. The brand was created in 1995 to replace about 30 different private label names that Costco had been using across different product categories. The idea was to create a single brand that signaled quality and value regardless of the product. The strategy behind Kirkland Signature is deceptively simple. Find out who makes the leading national brand product in a category, then go to that manufacturer, or one of equal quality, and have them produce the same product under the Kirkland label at a lower price. Costco's buying power is so enormous that manufacturers agree to these terms because the volume is worth it. The result is that many Kirkland products are literally made by the same companies that produce the name brand versions. The olive oil, the batteries, the coffee, the vodka. In many cases, the product inside the packaging is identical or nearly identical to the national brand sitting next to it on the shelf. But the Kirkland version costs 20 to 40% less. This does two things simultaneously. First, it reinforces the perception that Costco offers unbeatable value, which protects the membership. Second, Kirkland products carry higher profit margins than the name brand items because there is no brand licensing fee or marketing cost baked into the price. So Costco actually makes more money per unit on Kirkland products while charging you less for them. Every new Kirkland product requires sign-off from this before it launches. That is how seriously Costco takes the brand. They understand that if a single Kirkland product disappoints a customer, it damages trust in the entire label. And trust in Kirkland is trust in Costco. And trust in Costco is a renewed membership. Everything comes back to the membership. Now let us talk about what happens when you actually walk into a Costco, because the physical experience of shopping there is engineered just as carefully as the pricing. Costco warehouses average about 148,000 square feet. They are enormous, plain, concrete-floored buildings with steel shelving stacked to the ceiling and products sold in bulk packaging. There are no window displays, no elaborate decorations. The lighting is industrial. The aesthetic is purely functional. This is deliberate. Every dollar Costco does not spend on store design is a dollar that stays out of the product price. The concrete floors, the warehouse lighting, the lack of bags at checkout, all of it communicates the same message. We are not wasting money on appearances. We are giving you low prices. But there is one design choice that is far more calculated than it appears. Costco does not use aisle signs. In a typical grocery store, signs hang from the ceiling, telling you exactly where to find bread, cereal, cleaning supplies, and canned goods. At Costco, there are no such signs. You walk in and you see the entire warehouse stretching out before you, a panoramic view with no map. This is not an oversight. It is a strategy called the treasure hunt. By removing navigation aids, Costco forces you to wander. You came in for toilet paper and milk, but to find them, you have to walk past televisions, winter coats, a pallet of olive oil, and a display of discounted luggage. Some of those items will not be there next week. Costco intentionally rotates products, moving staples to different locations every few weeks, and cycling in limited-time deals that disappear without warning. The result is that every trip to Costco feels slightly different. You never know what you are going to find. And that uncertainty creates a psychological pull. If you see something interesting, you buy it now, because it might not be there next time. The average Costco member spends roughly $140 per trip. Executive members, who pay a higher annual fee, spend roughly 3 times more than standard members. The warehouse layout follows what retail designers call a racetrack plan. You enter and are immediately greeted by electronics and high-margin items. The perimeter of the store forms a loop that guides you past fresh food, bakery, and deli at the back. Practical staples like paper towels and cleaning supplies are positioned so that reaching them requires walking past seasonal items, clothing, and whatever new products Costco is featuring that month. By the time you reach the checkout line, your cart is full of things you did not plan to buy. And the food court is right there at the exit. $1.50 for a hot dog. You just spent $200, but you feel like you got a deal. Now, there is one more piece of the Costco model that does not get talked about enough, and it might be the most important one of all: the employees. Costco pays its workers significantly more than its competitors. The minimum starting wage is $19.50 an hour. Compare that to Walmart and Sam's Club, which have historically paid substantially less. But the wage gap is only part of the story. 82% of Costco employees have company health insurance, and they pay only 8% of the premiums. 91% are enrolled in retirement plans with meaningful company contributions. The benefits are closer to what you would expect from a white-collar tech company than from a retail warehouse. The result of this investment is loyalty. Costco's employee turnover rate is about 17% overall, and after the first year it drops to just 6%. Compare that to Walmart, which turns over roughly 44% of its workforce every year. Low turnover saves enormous amounts of money. Every time a retail employee quits, the company has to recruit, hire, and train a replacement. Those costs add up fast. One analysis found that even though replacing a Costco employee costs more per person than replacing a Walmart employee, Walmart's dramatically higher turnover rate means they spend over $600 million a year on churn. Costco spends less than half of that. But the real payoff is not in reduced hiring costs. It is in the customer experience. When employees stay for years, they learn the business deeply. They know the products. They know the warehouse layout. They know the members by name. They work faster, make fewer mistakes, and provide better service. And in a membership business, The quality of the experience is what determines whether someone renews. Sam's Club eventually recognized this competitive disadvantage. In 2024, they explicitly framed a round of wage increases as necessary to catch up with Costco. The warehouse club model demands engaged workers because the entire value proposition depends on operational efficiency and member satisfaction. So let us step back and look at the full picture. Costco's business model is a closed loop. Pay employees well, so they stay and provide great service. Keep prices as low as possible, so members feel the card is worth it. Make money not on the products themselves, but on the membership fee that gives people access to those prices. Use the predictable membership revenue to reinvest in even lower prices and better operations. And repeat. Every piece supports every other piece. The hot dog supports the membership. The membership supports the low prices. The low prices support the Kirkland brand. The Kirkland brand supports the margins. The margins support the employee wages. The employee wages support the experience. And the experience supports the membership renewal. It is a flywheel. And once it is spinning, it is very difficult for competitors to replicate because you cannot copy one piece of it without copying all of it. That is why Costco is worth over $400 billion. Not because they sell cheap chicken, not because they move enormous volumes of toilet paper, but because they figured out something that most businesses never do. The product is not the product. The membership is the product. Everything else is just a reason to keep paying for it. The next time you walk into a Costco and grab a hot dog for $1.50, remember that you are not the customer being served by that hot dog. You are the product being retained by it. The hot dog is not there to make money. It is there to make sure you come back. And based on Costco's